Good morning. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. First and foremost, your screen is not broken. We are not doing webcams today because we wanted the program to be the focus and not take up any of the screen. So when Jody takes over, you'll be able to see her whole screen and see the actual program. So we are here, you just can't see us right now. So I want to welcome everybody to week 5 of Saved You a Seat, which is SoftPro Select Secrets to Success. If you were on a couple weeks ago, we did kind of a high-level tips and tricks overview of both versions, and we had told you we would follow up with a version specific. So today is for SoftPro Select, and then next week will be for Standard and Enterprise. We did receive some questions ahead of time, so we're going to try and address as many as we can. If you have any questions throughout, please use the question feature, and the box should be to your right on your screen, and we will try and get to as many questions towards the end as we can. And please just know if we don't get to your questions, then we will follow up per usual afterwards with it via email, and we'll send it out to everybody. We will also record this. So after this, per all the other weeks, you will get a follow-up email with any documentation that we have for the session, a link to the recording, all the previous recordings, and you'll also get any Q&A that we are sending out. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Jody Stewart. Jody is a trainer at SoftPro, and she does all select trainings.
Welcome, everyone. As Leslie stated, my name is Jody Stewart, and I am a SoftPro trainer here at SoftPro. Today, we are going to talk about the secrets to success in Select. So here are some of the things. How familiar are you with the split screen functionality? Or what do you do when your underwriter sends you their bulletin regarding buyers and sellers, or even property addresses that they will not insure? How about having your tasks populate to the side of your screen instead of on the bottom? How do you change the settlement type of your order when it is opened as a CD instead of a HUD? Would it surprise you to know that there are over 50 keyboard shortcuts that are available in SoftPro Select? We will be exploring these various ways you can enhance your experience in Select with these secrets to success, as well as different tools that are available to you. Now let's get started. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about today is Blacklist. I don't know if any of you have heard about Blacklist, but this is a tool that is available. What is Blacklist? Blacklist is a server package which allows comparing buyer and seller names against a list of people not to do business with. Additionally, the same occurs for the property address. The list of people and properties are contained in what we call 2 lookup tables. Those tables will be manually edited by you, the customer, to contain names and addresses which they are not to do business with. So some customers use the underwriter bulletin that they receive. So those bulletins that the underwriter sends out to you about people and properties that should not be doing business with and they will not insure, that's what they use to create these tables with. So at every order save, when a new order is opened and the parties and properties are in the order and they're compared against these entries in the lookup table, if the match is found, a task is added with a note containing the name of the same person or property to be found on the list. So let's see how this works. So when the order entry person or anyone opening the file goes into the order, starts entering in your information, you go down to the property address and you start entering the property address. And I have fat fingers, so sometimes my spelling isn't so correct, so bear with me. Let's see here. So I type in my zip code, I choose my property, and if at this point I tried to save my file at this time, notice what happens. I get a warning, and it tells me blacklisted property address. It says that this property address is not insurable. I can also go to my checklist, and my checklist task states I need to clear a potential property as a blacklist match. Now, this also works with the buyer and the seller names as well. So if I go ahead and enter in my buyer's name, and I go to save my file, it will also pop up blacklisted person name. Bad person, this is someone we will not insure, and see the memo. And again, I can go to my checklist task and I can see that there is a task that I need to clear the potential blacklist name match. So this is kind of a cool tool. Obviously, if you do get your underwriter bulletins and need to make sure that you're not going through this transaction, possibly doing a closing for someone that they will not insure, this blacklist tool helps prevent you from doing the closing. Okay, so that is one of the items. Let's talk about another item. We have what's called SP image and scanning. So scanning, a lot of people don't know, we have SP image. SP image works with barcodes. So in the case of using a barcode, I can go ahead and scan my documents using my barcodes. Once I've scanned my documents in, I can then, from my desktop, click and drag those documents in to my SP image module. Notice here, it then separates each one of those packages. So if I have a lender package and I need to separate all of the documents, I need to separate my closing statement, I need to separate my deed, I need to separate all of my documents and information, I can use my barcode. So notice here, if I were to open up my documents and view them on my screen, I'll bring them over here. I can see on my screen, apologize, that barcode sheet. So if I scroll down, I put a barcode sheet in front of each one of these documents. So I can take a look and see that I have barcodes separating that package. Then I've dragged and dropped that package into SP image. I can then from here, notice it brings it in as untitled documents, but I can see the document package. So I can see that this is my closing statement and it's a combined master statement. So then if I click on the untitled document, I can name this package or name these documents. I can then go to my next one and then again click or right click and name this document, and so on and so forth. Again, I can also right click and rename. Now once I'm done, all I need to do is click on my attach button. What this does is it sends my documents to the order. I do not need to have my order open. I just need to click on attach. Notice here, when I hit my attach, I get my attachment utility. This is another tool that can be used. So from here, if I named these the wrong name, I can choose a new file name. This is another utility that is available in Select. So if I choose the name file, and this is a utility that I would have set up with the list and a drop-down list of all the names that are available to me that I can select from. So I can actually rename those documents and call it what I need to and hit add, and it would then send it to my file. So that is another utility that I can use, the attachment utility. Again, it renames my documents. So from here, I can select the name and hit add. Or If I do not see it in the drop down and I have permission, I can add a file name to this list. So if I know that I need documents that are called seller documents, I can add that new file list and that file name to this list. Notice it then removes it from my scan image and it drops it into my folder in attachments. So I go into my order, click on attachments, and there's my list of documents. Okay. I can also from here notice that I have folders within my attachments. Now, if these do need to go into specific folders, I can highlight and drag those documents into a folder. Again, if I need to rename them, if I did have the attachment utility, my attachment utility would pop up. If I don't need to rename, I can hit cancel from here. Again, highlight, drag, and drop. If I needed both of these documents to be deposited into one folder, I can highlight my first document, hit my control button, highlight my second document, and drag and drop. So it moves those documents into my folders. Now, notice that I no longer see any of those documents. But if I'm highlighted on my attachments folder, I can search for all of my documents without having to go into each one of these folders. Because when I click on my folder, I only get the listed documents that shows me in that folder. But if I'm highlighted on the attachments folder, I place my cursor in the search bar. I place my cursor within the search bar. I hit my space bar and enter. Notice it opens up all of my folders and I can see all of my documents with each one of these folders. From here, I can highlight a document, scroll down to the next folder, highlight by hitting my control key and clicking on the document. I can hit my control key, click the next document, scroll down, go into another folder, control, and click the next document. And from here, I am able to email those selected documents to my emailed parties. So that is one way that I can select multiple documents from my attachments folder to email out. Okay. Also within my attachments folder, I do have the capabilities to annotate. Now, some people love to annotate their commitments. They do what's called a markup. You can annotate commitments by marking up. You can also place signatures on documents. You can also create stamps. So let's go ahead and annotate. How do I annotate? I can highlight the document and use the tool in my toolbar. So I have the annotate in my transaction toolbar. I then highlight, right click. I can use that as well. If I'm going to annotate a document, but I do not want to annotate the original, I can also highlight the document, right click, and copy. So notice from here, when I copy that document, let me add. And of course, I'm having a little technical difficulty. So I copy my document. It will then create the second document. I can then annotate my copy. So I hit annotate, and now it brings me to my annotations. From here, I get my markups. So I can actually highlight information. If I select my highlighter, and bring my highlighter to the page, notice I get my plus sign. So if I need my parties to be well aware of this information, I can then click and drag and it would highlight that information. I can also apply text information. So from here, I click and drag and I get a box. I can then insert my text here. I can also, with annotations, make arrows. Again, I get my plus sign and I click and drag. So these are what we call annotations. I can also create stamps within annotations. So if I'm marking up my title, I can create stamps with wingdings. So notice here I get my little stop sign, and I could put a stop sign next to that marking up of my commitment. I can also place my signature. Your signature would need to be within the system, but I can place my signature. So if I did need to sign a document prior to sending it out, again, I get my plus sign and I click and drag. Now, I can make all of these annotations as large and as small as I need to by just moving the little dot. Within annotations, I can also remove pages. So if I go to page 2 and I don't want that page, I can delete a page. I can also insert pages from my desktop. We also have bookmarks. So I can bookmark my page if I need to. So these are all the things within annotations that I can do with these documents. I can bookmark my pages. So some people don't know about how to use annotations. Again, annotations is something that is within your attachments folder. Okay. Now, the other item that I wanted to talk about. Yes.
Jody, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just got a couple of questions right here on what you're talking about, and it's just one if you can answer. It's just the question is, will those annotations print out? And if so, does it include any of the highlighting?
So it's going to depend on your how it's set up. I do know that it will, if you email, it will copy over into emails. Your annotations will show on the emails. As far as printing, I actually haven't tested it out because I don't have a printer, but I would definitely test it to make sure and see if it does. But I do know for email it does. It will show up with you when you email those.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And I'll follow up
actually,
on that. Go ahead.
Actually, Heidi from SoftPro is actually on this right now, and she said to let you know that it does print. So that's great news.
Yay.
Awesome.
There we go.
Okay, awesome. All right. I'm going to mute myself again. Carry on.
Sounds great. All right. The next item that I wanted to talk about is toggle. So a lot of people want to know, and this is one of the biggest questions that we get. I opened my order and I go in and I look at my screens and I see that it was opened as a CD. But I don't want a CD. I need it to be a cash transaction and a HUD. Well, we have a nifty tool called Toggle Settlement. So from here, I can actually click on Toggle Settlement. So if I have my order opened, and again, I want this transaction not to be the settlement type of a CD, but I want it to be a HUD. Instead of creating a whole new order for the HUD and then overlaying, if I have our Toggle Settlement tool, I can click on our tool. Now, your file must be saved. So notice here, my file is not saved. I must save my file before I can actually toggle. So I need to make sure that my file is saved, and I also need to make sure that my file is not in closed status. I then can click on my Toggle Settlement. From here, I get my targeted settlement type. I can choose HUD or commercial. So if I do select my radio button as HUD, I can also apply a template before or after I toggle my file. The template is helpful sometimes if you need to have descriptions so that you're not adding all of these items in after you've toggled your file. So from here, once you select, I then click OK, and notice the magic happen. It states, please wait, we're toggling your settlement type. What it's going to do is it's going to then close the existing order. It's going to rename the file with the additional suffix. So if it's an original CD order, it's going to name it your order number with a hyphen CDF. If it was a HUD order, it's then going to name your original, the original order number hyphen HUD. And now it creates my brand new order with the same order number. Okay. It's going to, at the same time, apply. So it's going to apply all of my attachments. It's going to apply all of my information. It's going to apply all of my notes. So your toggle will occur. And now I have my brand new order. Now, if I do get an error, I apologize, technical difficulties here. I should have received that toggle information, but it does toggle, and I can then toggle this file from my CDF closing into a HUD. Let's try this again. And I'm in a test environment, so sometimes my file has a lot of information that I've messed with, so bear with me here. So it then again creates your brand new order. It applies all of your information, and I'm getting that utility because it wants to know if I am going to rename any of my documents. But again, here's my toggle, and notice it now enters in all of my information and carries the information over, and then it toggles it to my HUD order. So instead of copying all of my documents over, all of my checklist tasks, all of those information comes over to the new order. It also creates a note that says this order was moved from this order here due to a settlement type change. And again, it brings over all of my notes within that file. So toggle settlement is a great tool to have if you need to toggle between the two settlement types or the three settlement types.
Hey, Jody, is that
Yeah.
something that is standard, or is it a certain version that they need to upgrade to be able to have to get this toggle feature?
We have that toggle feature in most of our versions. So you should be able to contact sales to have them install, contact SoftPro support. They will be able to add that item as a product type in your to your product types, and then they'll be able to send over the installation. So we will send to you the installation, and it does need to be installed on each separate computer. So in this case, if one person wants it, but another person doesn't need it, it does not have to be installed on every user's computer. So it's based on the computer it needs to be installed. Okay.
Okay, and then one quick question regarding this toggle that a couple people had was, will it work from a commercial file to a CDF as well, or no?
Yes, it will. It works from, it goes vice versa. So there's 6 different, so let me open this up. There's 6 different items. I didn't mean to click on that. I apologize. So toggle, you can toggle between a HUD to a CDF to a commercial. You can toggle from the CDF to a HUD to a commercial. And you can toggle from the commercial to a CDF or to a HUD. So there's 6 different toggles between those.
Wow. Okay, great. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the next item I wanted to show you is most people have a question about split screens. Well, I need to see two orders and we have split screens. So if I place my cursor on the first screen that I wanted to move, so I place it within my tab, I then left click on the tab. And when I left click and drag, notice that I get this information or this little pop-up in the middle. If I hover to the right, I get a blue screen. This means that it's going to take this order and place it to the right of my screen. If I move it to the top, it's going to move my order to the top of the screen, to the left, or to the bottom. So once I decide where I want this to go, I then let go of my mouse click and notice I now have my split screen. I've got my order on the left, my start page, and the other order on the right. So I can actually toggle between those two screens as well and maneuver. So if I do need to see some information in one order to go to the other order, I can then look at those two different screens. To get my screen to go back, I can either close my order or again, hover over my order number, left click and drag and bring it to the middle. But notice that it takes my order and puts the tab at the very beginning. But I can click and drag and notice that I can move my tabs. So I can maneuver between my tabs and move my tabs anywhere I would like them to go. So that's split screen. Now we have another item for split screen, and that's your tasks. So most people don't know that when they click on the view for tasking, it brings it to a pop-up window at the bottom of your screen. But if I pin my task, once my pin is set, I can then click on that tab and drag. Notice again, I get the information of my little window, but if I actually let go prior to moving it to a window, I now have this screen, this pop-up window, available to move anywhere I need it to go. Or if I want it to the side view, again, I'm pinning, I then click, and I want to drag to the actual window. And then it moves to the side of my screen. So that's a neat little trick that can actually move the screens. And it's customizable to how the user wants to see their items. Okay. To close, I then just close my tab. Okay. Now, another great tool that most people don't really realize is that anytime you see this scrollable field, if you place your cursor within the scrollable field and hit Control E to expand, that field opens up. I can now start typing. But another thing, and again, I have fat fingers, so I apologize, but another thing I can do is while I'm in here, if I hit my Control button and use my scroll on my mouse, notice that my text goes large. So if you need to see, or you can't see, or you want to make it smaller, notice if I click on my Control button and use the roll on my mouse, I can actually make that text larger or smaller. That's another keyboard shortcut. Okay. Another item I wanted to show you is most people don't realize the order transaction screen. Now let me open up an order here that we can go into and see the transactions. So our order transaction screen is a very, this is one of my favorite screens. I love this screen because this screen allows me to audit my files before I even go into the register. So order transactions is located at the very bottom in the escrow closing. So in my order transactions, I can actually come in here and see what my lender needs to provide me for closing. So I can balance with my lender from this order transaction screen. I can see how much my buyer needs to come in with, or if my seller needs to come in with money. I can also see who I'm paying my checks to. In here, I can also audit. So if I place my cursor within the code, I can hit F5 and notice it takes me to my payoff lender. From here, I can do my audit. Notice I don't have an address. Maybe I'm sending a check out and I need to have an address so that I can issue my check with the address and information. So from here, I can complete the address. I can also enter in a reference number, or I can already set up my file in the register right from this contact screen. So from the anticipate disbursement as, I can select from this drop down whether I'm issuing a check or an outgoing wire or even a miscellaneous debit right from this contact screen. When I've completed my audit of this lender, I hit my back button or escape on my keyboard, and it brings me right back to my order contact screen. Also from here, I can see the amount as well as placing the item on hold. Or if I need to change the amount or make sure that I'm collecting enough money, I can click on my hotspot to where this lives in the order. And it takes me directly to that line. And from there, I can fix the amount or audit the amount and adjust it. And again, click on my back button and it brings me right back to my order transaction screen. I can also make sure that my order is in balance. So this screen is one of my favorite screens, and not a lot of people use this. They go directly to the register and you have to go back and forth from the register to the order, when I could just come in here and utilize this screen to make any changes to information for my contacts, any changes to my amounts. I can put checks on hold. I can group and ungroup right directly from this screen. Okay. All right, so let's move on and talk about order history. Most people don't realize that I can take a look and see everything that's happened within my file, but it does not give me, it gives me all of my saves, but there are some specific items for descriptions. Now, most people say, well, I don't remember what template that I used. I can check order history. So at order creation, notice here, number one, create. If I double click on that first item, it brings my order history pop-up window for my creation. And if I scroll down at the very bottom, because at the beginning of creating my file, I can see if a template was applied to this file. Notice here, it does not show me a template. That tells me that a template was not added to this order when this order was created. So I can see if a template was applied. If a template had not been applied, at that point, I do have my apply template button. So if I don't know if a template was applied, always double check your order history. Always double check your order history, see if a template was applied. Now, applying a template, you want to be on the safe side to always double check before you apply a template, because you do not want to apply two templates to one order unless it's a different template. A default template, such as it's a refinance or a sale. So if I opened it with a sale template and it needs to be a refinance, do not add your refinance template to that order if a sale template was applied. You want to manually change that information. Okay. A lot of people don't realize we have notes. Notes is key because this explains everything, or you can add notes to the order if you've had conversations or if you need to add information. And I also have note categories. Note categories filters my notes. So notice here I have tabs at the top of my screen. These are what we call note categories. I can also select additional note categories within my screen by clicking on View. And if I check or uncheck these items, I can then see them within my notes. So if I'm going to add a note, I click on the plus sign, I add my note here, I then choose my category. So if my category has to do with title or closing, and these are customized, I can actually customize my categories. I can check the box that it's an escrow note or a closing note, but I also have display when order is open. So if this is a very important note and I need users to be able to see this information when they open the order, I can display this note when the order is open by checking the box. I also have note types. I can select what kind of note is this. If it's informational purposes, a warning, or critical. These are things that will put a icon in front of that note so that I can visually see this information. And once I hit OK, notice it puts that icon in front of that information, the type, and it tells me it's critical. But when I save my order and I exit the order and another person goes into that file and they open the order, that note is a pop-up. It's a note alert to let the users know what's going on with the file. All I need to do to remove the pop-up and remove my note alert is to click OK. And then I maneuver within my file. So again, notes for pop-ups, categories, all of those things are available under our general notes. And notice here, when I go to my escrow tab, I see my escrow notes. So again, it's a filter for those categories. Okay. Also, I wanted to show you logs. Sometimes if you do call in to SoftPro Select, they want to see the log of your file. To turn on the log pop-up, it is a keyboard shortcut of Control-Shift-L on your keyboard, and that gives me the log. So that is how I turn my log on. If SoftPro Support needs to know the log information, I turn it on by Control, Shift, and L. Another keyboard shortcut is for dates. I can come in here to the date and hit my down arrow or up arrow keys, and it date and time stamps it. Any questions so far before I move on to some of the items that I cannot show you within Select, but I do want to show you some other items that are in Works?
I actually do have a few questions that I've marked off here. Just to reiterate to everyone, because per usual, I had bad audio when we first started. Any questions that you've sent in that we don't get to, we will send a follow-up Q&A with our email like we do for every episode. And then a couple of people have emailed me asking if this is being recorded, and it is. You'll get that in the same email. So Okay, so SP image. Somebody
Yes.
asked if you can skip any naming until the utility opens.
So in SP image, can you skip the naming until the utility opens? Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The one question we had when you were going over the property description field was, is there a way to add an image to the property description field?
The legal descriptions.
Yes.
So you don't want to actually add an image. What I usually tell my users is to copy and paste. If you're going to, you can copy, and what I would do is to go down to Notepad and scrub. So if you go down and search and type Notepad, you'll want to use Notepad to scrub the information. So even if it's an image, you want to paste it into Notepad first, and then paste it into Select.
Okay. That's good. I didn't know you could do that. That's good information. Somebody also was, we had several things come up with toggle, but one that stood out was when you toggle back and forth, does it ever change the template that was used for the original order?
So it does not change. So the template that is added to the order is the template that was used to open. So it was a CD template, right? So if we're going from a CD to a HUD, it was a CD template that was added to the order. But when you toggle it, let's say to a HUD, it's going to take information from that file. So anything that can copy over to a HUD. So some of these screens, such as the general screens, the same screens that look the same will copy into the HUD file. So if it's going from a CD to a HUD, these screens are identical. So that information, if you have formulas and such in those screens, it will copy over. But if it's specific to, so let's say it's a HUD, and you have a formula or any information within a HUD template, that's where you'll want to use a toggle template to add that other additional information before you toggle the order. So when you click, let me save this file here real quick. When you click on toggle, you can either add a toggle template, and your templates have to be called toggle in order for the tool to work. You will click before the copy or after the copy, but you will want to add an additional template if you have additional formulas or anything in the other settlement type when applying and doing the toggle. I hope I answered that
Okay.
question correctly. I
You
hope
did
everybody
actually.
understood. Okay. Making sure I got
And then
it.
a couple more toggle questions. One is, is this something that admin can opt not to give to specific users?
Yes,
Is it a permission based per user? Yes.
it's per user, because again, it gets installed
Okay,
on
great.
each user's computer.
Oh, very good. That's right. And then someone else wanted to know, when you do toggle a file, does the earnest money information toggle as well?
No, that's a very good question. Earnest money does not get deposited into the register. Be aware that you will need to take the money and do a ledger transfer or a reassigned transaction. So earnest money does not get posted to the new order. That will need to be a manual transaction.
Okay, great.
Okay,
I think that's all of the questions that I have right now. So if you want to
perfect.
go ahead and show them some of the other stuff that you were talking to, that'd be great.
Yes, I wanted to finish up and wrap up with some of the items that a lot of people don't know also is documents. How do I get my documents updated from SoftPro Select into SoftPro Select? We have a new document portal. This can manage all of your state and underwriter and land title and national packages all in one place, and you can create a watch list. So how do I do this? What you would need to do is you would visit the direct link. This is the link, and we will provide this to you after, but go ahead and copy this link, take a screenshot of it. But again, we will provide this link to you. And what you're going to do is you will go in, register, and once you're registered, if you are registered with 360 already, you already have a login. If you are not registered with 360, then you'll need to create. But once you do have a login and a password, it will bring you to this screen. You will then select that you are a select user. Then you will choose your states. You go next. You can choose your states that you do business in. So you'll choose your states. And again, from the drop down, I can select what state I'm in. So if I'm in North Carolina, I can select that. And again, I can select additional states if I'm in California. So even if I'm work nationwide or within specific states, I can select those states that I want to watch. Once I'm done, I hit the next. And then I can select all of my underwriters that I need to watch. So if I work with Caddick, if I work with Chicago, if I work with Alliant, and so on and so forth, I am going to select all of my underwriters that I do business with, and then I hit next. From here, now these items have been added to my watch list. So I can see that these are added to my watch list, and when they are updated, I will then get an email. And once I'm done, I then finish. So please sign up. Please go in and look at the document portal because this is great. It allows me to manage all of my underwriter packages. It allows me to go in and see any notifications. I can look at info and videos. And again, it's customized to what I want to view and all of my states. Okay. Now, the other item I also wanted to bring up is some people on our last call talked about our dashboard. We all saw the dashboard. Well, SoftPro has a new dashboard, right? SoftPro Select dashboard is powered by Power BI, which is a Microsoft Business Analytics service. How does it work with SoftPro Select? It creates an interactive visual view of widgets that we can customize for your screen. Power BI service is required in order to have the SoftPro Select dashboard. So let's go take a look and see how this dashboard can look. So from here, we have 4 pages of this dashboard. The first page is kind of like your summary page, right? So it shows you how many files that you have in processed, open for the current year, maybe closed for the current year, and it even can show you revenue. And on the right-hand side, it can show you the current month scheduled closings. And I can toggle between profiles. So notice here I have a profile drop down, and I can look at all of my profiles for my operation. The second page is the in process. So from here, I can see orders with order status either of blank, in process, and hold, and the escrow status is closed. So again, these are all files that are usually in process, but I can also do it based on marketing source. So I can see who's providing me business and look through to see the information. I can get counts on the order number types by transaction or escrow officer, title officer, or profile. So these are widgets that show me the graph. And then down below, I get the details of those graphs. Page 3 is opened versus closed. So I can see the difference between the open versus closed, and these are based on receive date for the current year, opened for opened orders, and for closed orders, it's the current year for closed orders, which is the escrow closed date. But I can change the information based on my selections. So I can look at I can look at marketing sources, maybe a main contact. I can choose received date or closed date, and I can then go through between my title officer and escrow officer, and it would change those numbers based on my parameters I'm choosing. And again, I can get a graph of what it looks like as well as the details down below. And then your last page, revenue premium, this shows me for the revenue premiums posted transactions for the current year. So revenue is based on transactions posted to a revenue contact, and the other is based on transactions posted to other contacts. So I can actually take a look and see how much money I am sending out to an attorney, or I can take a look at our revenue, and I can base that on bill codes as well. So I can take a look at the different bill codes, the different marketing sources, and how much funds went to each marketing source. So this is our new dashboard that's coming out. It is in beta testing right now. If you are interested in this product, please contact your sales rep for this, but it is in beta testing. Okay. Also, I wanted to talk about our consulting services. So most people don't realize that we do have what's called consulting services. This is offered to provide you with continued education to assist in utilizing our suite of SoftPro products to the fullest. We have two different types that can be purchased. We have hourly consultations and on-site consultations. And the process for this is what they do is they observe your workflow and your applications and analyze your internal businesses, right? So internal business processes, excuse me. And they can also discuss with you the efficiency gains and improvements that can be made. They can then give you projected goals and show you the results of all of this information. So our on-site consultation or our webinar consultation, look into that. We also have additional services that we can provide you as well. We have our annual maintenance, we have on-site regional seminars, we have our web-based training and on-site training. We also have additional tools like closing calendar, an address book, our tin checks. We have custom development. We can provide custom reports and documents. So remember, we provide a lot of time and money and additional services to your company along with the products. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us so that we can provide this information to you. Now, we also have free webinars, and I wanted to kind of show you some of our pages. So we do have our free webinars in May for select users in May, and you still have a chance to sign up for these in May. We have the basics of commercial closing statements. We have multiple loans and funding scenarios and recordings. To get that information, you can go to our SoftPro training. So on our page, our softprocorp.com, you would then go to select services, and notice I can look at training solutions. And from here, you can select the different information as well for training services. So we have web-based on-site consulting, we talked about that, or even local seminars. To learn more, click on our Learn More buttons down below. Now, everything that I provided you today, I know is just kind of a short list. We do have a lot more available, and if you do have some questions, please feel free to reach out to us to get that information. Okay. Some of these tips and tricks and these success items are free. And if you would like to receive them, please reach out. We'll send you the information on how to install, especially for toggle or things on the tricks and tips, our keyboard shortcuts. Others are a custom integration. And if you did want to get information about custom integrations or some of these other items, please reach out to your sales rep or SoftPro support. I also want to make sure that you are aware that some may not be available to our hosted customers. So, but please reach out to SoftPro support. Please reach out to your sales rep if you do have any questions in regards to some of the items that I did provide you for today. Okay. I am now going to hand it on over to Leslie to see if there's any additional questions and let her wrap it up.
Actually, I do have a question that a couple people asked, and that is how do they get Blacklist? Where can they find it? How do they get it? And then also, how do you add people or properties to it?
So Blacklist is, you will need to contact either your sales rep or support to get it. Okay.
Okay.
And then once you
And then
do
I
get that
think,
installed, they will show you how to add that information.
okay, great. Perfect. Well, Jody, that was a great information. I'm not going to lie. As most people know, I'm not a trainer. I don't work in the software every day. I work in compliance. I know it. I can do a closing, but I don't know all the cool tips and tricks. And let me tell you, that Blacklist about blew my mind. I'm still reeling over that. I think that is such a cool feature, especially from the underwriters when they're sending out, don't insure this property, whatnot. So
Right.
really good information. Absolutely appreciate your time and appreciate everyone who's joined us time. So like we do for every session, we're just going to end it with a little recipe and refreshment. Again, I'm not going to go over it. If you could just page down, Jody, that would be great. And we just decided today we should go brunch because I love brunch so much. So if anyone ever has any questions about these or makes them or has any input, trust me, I'm like a wannabe pretend chef. So I would love to hear it. But I will tell you, I make this quite a bit and I sub out sun-dried tomatoes or roasted red peppers, really anything that you want, prosciutto, anything that you want to put in here is honestly delicious. So mimosa bar, I think that speaks for itself. Obviously, whatever juices you like, include fresh fruit, include. I mean, we've been in quarantine here in Chicago for over 8 weeks now. Um, we still have brunch, my husband and kids and I, because I love it and I pretend I'm hosting brunch and I miss hosting brunch. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's webinar. Next week, we are going to do one specific to standard and enterprise. So it will not be select. It'll be tips and tricks, very similar today, but will be standard and enterprise. And then the following week we'll have another topic which we'll send out. So please know we will send a follow-up. We will send a follow-up with the link for the recording. The follow-up will include any questions and answers. We'll put it in writing so that you guys can see it. And if we have any job aids on any of these specific items, we will include that as well. That said, if you have any questions, please email me. I'm happy to assist or put you in touch with the right people. So I think at this point, if you want to page down, we can just say thank you to everybody. And we hope you can attend either next week, I get, maybe not because you're select users, but the week after. Really appreciate you guys. We love our customers. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.